So walk me through this book and how much, I guess, Caitlin Clark's, was there any cooperation, any reach out to her at all, Christine, for this book?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. She
Great.
answered 40 to 50 questions that I
Awesome.
asked her. Yeah, she's great. She's better in person than you'd hope. Yeah, what happened was right around the time actually you and I spoke, which was the Olympic snub, which, by
Yes.
the way, is a chapter title in the book, and I have even more reporting on that abysmal decision, and I continue to report it. So there's breaking news within the book on that chapter alone, as well as there's
Yes.
lots of.
Christine Brennan delivered a searing critique of WNBA leadership during her recent appearance on The Rich Eisen Show, where she discussed her new book centered around Caitlin Clark. Her remarks, unapologetically direct and richly substantial, sent shockwaves through the basketball media landscape, reigniting heated debates about how the league has mismanaged perhaps the most pivotal figure in its history. Brennan, a seasoned journalist with decades of experience championing women's sports, did not mince words. Her criticisms weren't the product of social media chatter or superficial commentary. They came from.
But within a few weeks, I was, just early July thinking, gosh, should I maybe do a book on this? I hadn't written a book in a long time. And this has become my 8th book, 4th with Scribner. Literally 54 weeks ago, there was no book. And now we're number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list. So, it shows what it shows, Rich, is the incredible power, appeal of this 23-year-old woman.
A figure with irrefutable credibility and historical context. For over 40 years, she has fought to bring visibility and legitimacy to women's athletics, often in spaces that mocked or disregarded their value entirely. So, when she raises red flags about the WNBA's leadership and their handling of Caitlin Clark, it warrants serious attention. One of the most jarring revelations from Brennan's interview was the WNBA's apparent inability or unwillingness to capitalize on the once-in-a-generation marketing opportunity that Clark presented. Brennan noted that the Indiana Fever's average home attendance last season surpassed that of 5 NBA teams, an astonishing figure that underlines Clark's seismic influence. Despite these eye-popping metrics, the league seemed anxious rather than energized by the newfound attention. In her book and interview, Brennan recounts a telling moment. While discussing Clark's rise with the WNBA,
I wouldn't have been caught dead watching women's basketball when I would be on radio shows, or you and I might be talking at various things. Guys would laugh like, "You're not covering the women's Final Four, are you? Like, why would you go to the women's Olympic gold medal game at all the Olympics I cover? What a waste of time. It's not good basketball. It's below the rim. They're rolling around on the floor. It's jump balls." These are the things I heard. I was laughed at as I would advocate the coverage of women's basketball, among all the other things that I've been able to do, men's and women's, right? Sports. And honest to goodness, to see now those guys that would have been calling into sports talk shows around the country laughing, they're the guys now buying the number 22 jerseys. They're wearing them not only to games, but to the grocery store and the gas station. They are Caitlin Clark's biggest fans, and they are the reason that these TV ratings are through the roof.
She sensed not enthusiasm or optimism, but palpable anxiety. Instead of celebrating a long overdue breakthrough for the league, leadership appeared overwhelmed by the spotlight. It's the equivalent of winning the lottery and panicking about the tax implications. In short, the league responded to a historic gift with fear rather than strategy. The demographic transformation Clark has triggered is nothing short of revolutionary. Brennan highlighted how many of Clark's most fervent supporters are men who previously dismissed women's basketball outright. These individuals are now proudly donning her jersey in public, attending games, and tuning into broadcasts in record numbers. This isn't merely an expansion of the fan base, it's a paradigm shift in how women's basketball is perceived by mainstream sports culture. Yet rather than harnessing this momentum, the WNBA appeared to retreat inward, resisting the cultural and commercial tides Clark unleashed. Brennan's reporting exposes a pattern of league officials and veteran players reacting with defensiveness, skepticism, or outright hostility toward Clark's meteoric rise. This attitude, she argues, reflects a dangerous misunderstanding of how transformative moments in professional sports must be embraced.
Average home attendance last year, first year of Caitlin Clark, was higher than the average home attendance of 5 NBA teams. I cannot even believe I said that sentence, and I researched it, and it's on her game. Point being, this has absolutely been a sea change, the likes of which I did not envision seeing in my career. That's how big a deal. And I chronicled the whole thing, and Caitlin answered every question, tough questions, looked you in the eye, goes on with answers, goes off on a tangent, comes back and finishes the answer. I mean, she's just a delight.
Not managed cautiously. Perhaps the most alarming detail Brennan shared was the viewership collapse that occurs when Clark is not on the court. During the early part of the season, when Clark missed a few games, More than half of the WNBA's television audience vanished with her absence. For perspective, when global icons like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan were absent from competition, ratings dipped slightly. But Clark's absence causes a plumeta, total freefall. This speaks volumes about her unique draw and the league's heavy dependence on her continued presence. Brennan further underscored the irony of players targeting Clark with excessive physicality, referencing specific incidents like Marina Mabrey, hit while not acknowledging the damage such actions inflict on the league's broader financial health. Every injury risk to Clark jeopardizes millions in potential advertising revenue, merchandise sales, ticket income, and long-term fan engagement. To Brennan, these moments reveal a short-sightedness among certain players and a broader failure by the league to protect its most valuable asset. Her comparison to Tiger Woods is especially revealing. Goff, by the time Tiger arrived, already boasted a rich legacy and a strong commercial foundation. From Bobby Jones to Jack Nicklaus, Tiger amplified an already thriving product. The WNBA, however, has struggled for decades with relevance, profitability, and cultural legitimacy. Caitlin Clark didn't just raise the ceiling.
She likes Caitlin Clark. She gets it. At least I thought she got it. But when she did that, I mean, Shelton and Caitlin go back a long way because of Iowa and Ohio State through the Big Ten. And so, there's chippy play. And Caitlin Clark does not need me or you or anyone to defend her. Oh, she's not a victim. She gives it as good as she takes it. She's tough. She's strong. She's revving up the crowd. She loves it. And people love her for that. But when Marina Mabrey plowed into Caitlin Clark like a freight train, if that did not injure Caitlin Clark, as far as we know, although now she's had these 4 injuries, and the last time she missed a game was sophomore year of high school. So bizarre, absolutely bizarre what's happening. And so obviously disheartening for Caitlin Clark and so many of her fans. But when Marina Mabrey does that, you know who she's hurting at the end of the day? She's hurting Marina Mabrey and her earning potential. Because when Caitlin Clark is injured, the first time she was injured this year, Rich, she would miss 5 games. During those 5 games when she disappeared, more than half of the viewership of the WNBA, not just the Fever, but the WNBA, more than half of the viewership also disappeared. That is falling off a cliff.
Built the entire room, and yet the league appears hesitant to fully embrace her as the face of their future. Another significant and complex element Brennan explores is the racial and cultural dynamics surrounding Clark's integration into the league. The WNBA is predominantly composed of black athletes and has a substantial LGBTQ representation. Clark, a white straight rookie, entered that environment with a tidal wave of media, attention, and fanfare. Brennan doesn't shy away from suggesting that part of the resistance Clark has faced may be rooted in the league's discomfort navigating those intersections of identity and popularity. Rather than preparing for and managing this cultural complexity, with sensitivity and vision, the league often seemed to fumble. Brennan recounts instances of veteran players publicly diminishing Clark's accomplishments, dismissing her impact, or implying she needed to earn her place before being celebrated. While hazing or rookie rites of passage are common in sports, Brennan argues that Clark's situation is unique. When one player is single-handedly responsible for doubling television ratings, driving revenue growth, and attracting new fans, it's in everyone's interest to support not stifle her. And through all of this, Clark has remained the consummate professional. Despite repeated on-court cheap shots, dismissive commentary, and being excluded from Team USA's Olympic roster, she has handled every setback with poise, grace, and resilience. She continues to perform at an elite level.
Tiger Woods, I looked it up. When he would be out of a major tournament or missing something, it would drop a little. Michael Jordan, when he went to baseball, dropped a little. Others over the years. Over half of your TV audience just disappears. That is devastating to the WNBA and to its financial future, and all those players with the CBA now up and they're having these negotiations. They need to realize sooner than later, not that you treat her like kid gloves, but that Caitlin is to them even more important than Tiger was to men's golf. Because men's golf had already had Arnie Jack, Byron Nelson, Sam Snead, going all the way back to Bobby Jones. It already had the commercials and the standing within the sports culture.
And represent the league with dignity, never once lashing out or making excuses. The implications of the WNBA's mishandling are significant and time-sensitive. Clark's cultural resonance has brought women's basketball to a level of public relevance it has never before achieved. But that momentum has a shelf life. If league officials, players, and stakeholders fail to recognize and nurture what they have in Clark, they risk squandering a moment that could have reshaped the entire future of women's professional sports. Christine Brennan's book, along with her explosive commentary on The Rich Eisen Show, should serve as a critical wake-up call not just for the WNBA, but for the entire sports industry. The league has been handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and unless it learns to embrace its rising star with open arms, it may soon find itself back in the shadows of irrelevance. The Olympic exclusion of Caitlin Clark and event Christine Brennan explores in depth in her latest book serves as a glaring indictment of how institutional leadership failed to comprehend the singular value Clark brought to women's basketball. Brennan, in her continued investigation, reveals the Olympic Committee's baffling oversight as a reflection of just how disconnected the sport's power brokers have been from the reality of Clark's influence on both the game and culture at large. What's particularly frustrating about the entire debacle is that the solutions were evident to anyone genuinely paying attention. Clark's meteoric rise was not an inexplicable or mysterious phenomenon. Her explosive popularity was clearly tied to her electrifying style of play, her historic collegiate achievements, and her rare ability to forge an emotional and aspirational connection with fans. Rather than seizing the opportunity to harness this cultural moment, the league responded with apprehension, almost as if her popularity were a liability rather than a gift. The WNBA, in essence, was handed a winning lottery ticket and responded by complaining about the inconvenience of going to the bank to cash it. Brennan offers a compelling parallel between Caitlin Clark and transformative sports icons like Tiger Woods, just as Tiger brought a new demographic of viewers to golf. Many of whom had previously shown no interest in the sport, Clark has drawn a previously disengaged audience to women's basketball. However, the crucial distinction Brennan makes is that unlike golf, which had already achieved widespread commercial success prior to Tiger's arrival, the WNBA has long struggled to attain mainstream traction. Clark wasn't simply enhancing an already thriving product, she was establishing a new paradigm of relevance. One of the most remarkable shifts Brennan discusses involves the demographic transformation of the league's fan base. Men who once scoffed at the idea of watching women's basketball are now not only tuning in, they're purchasing Clark jerseys and attending games. This is not a subtle shift. It represents a fundamental redefinition of how women's sports are perceived by mainstream, often male-dominated sports culture, and yet, rather than embracing this dramatic and positive change, WNBA leadership has often responded with resistance and defensiveness. The now infamous DeJounte Carrington controversy serves as a case study in institutional fragility. Brennan, performing her duties as a respected journalist, raised legitimate questions regarding whether a hit on Clark was intentional. Instead of responding with professionalism, the WNBA Players Association issued a lengthy statement, essentially calling for Brennan's press credentials to be revoked, a move that exposed a profound misunderstanding of how legitimate journalism functions within professional sports. In every major sports league, athletes are subjected to difficult questions and critical examination. This is part of the territory in the world of professional athletics. For the WNBA Players Association to respond by attacking a journalist with Brennan's pedigree, someone who has been a tireless advocate for women's sports for 4 decades, was not only tone-deaf, it was deeply counterproductive. As CNN anchor Jake Tapper eloquently noted, "Those are horrible blights on our culture that you, Brennan, have been fighting against for decades. If you're going to attack someone who has spent 40 years advocating for female athletes, you better have your facts straight." His words underline the broader cultural contradiction at play, attacking one of the most loyal allies of women's sports for doing her job with integrity. From a business standpoint, the implications of the WNBA's missteps are monumental. Presence has generated unprecedented growth across every financial metric imaginable. Television ratings, sponsorship deals, merchandise sales, and ticket revenue have all soared. Yet, this surge is fragile. It hinges on Clark's continued health, engagement, and enthusiastic participation. Every instance of injury, every public controversy, and every signal that the league fails to fully appreciate her significance threatens to unravel the progress that has been made. Brennan is correct in framing Clark as more than merely a basketball player. She has emerged as a cross-cultural icon, someone whose resonance extends far beyond the confines of sport. The mere fact that average American men are now proudly sporting her jersey at local grocery stores exemplifies a rare level of transcendence, a cultural breakthrough that even many male athletes never achieve. This level of universal appeal is exceedingly rare, and the WNBA has responded to it not with vision and agility, but with apprehension and inertia. Historically, the league has never turned a consistent profit. Now, they have a player whose mere presence can guarantee sold-out arenas and drive premium media rights. This is the very transformation that struggling sports leagues dream about, an opportunity to reframe their entire brand. And yet, the WNBA has treated Clark's success more as an inconvenience than a cornerstone for growth. They've sought to enjoy the benefits of her popularity, while deliberately distancing themselves from the qualities that made her a star. Internationally, such negligence would be unimaginable. Women's sports leagues across the globe would leap at the chance to build their identity around a figure of Clark's magnitude. The fact that the WNBA possessed such a generational talent and still managed to manufacture controversy instead of momentum reflects a startling lack of strategic